Hello and welcome to Cultural Capital. I'm Nancy Durrant, I'm the arts editor of the Evening Standard, and I am so wildly overexcited about the reopening of theatre, galleries, museums, music venues and everything else in London that I might actually need to have a bit of a lie down. Coming up, as museums and art galleries welcome their first visitors, we go down the rabbit hole at the V&A's new Alice in Wonderland exhibition, Alice, Curiouser and Curiouser. Our chief theatre critic, Nick Curtis, is in the West End as the curtain comes up on Theatreland with his top tips for the new season. And as the Best Actress, Best Director and Best Picture Oscar winner Nomadland comes to cinemas, we take a look at the year's most anticipated film. Plus, it's your new favourite weird regular feature, Thing of the Week. In a year in which it's felt as though we've all gone through the looking glass at one time or another, it feels right that now the girl who did it first is getting her due. This major new exhibition at the V&A looks at the birth, growth and far-reaching influence of Alice and her Wonderland since Lewis Carroll invented the story on a boat trip up the River Cherwell in 1862. From fashion to film, ballet to art and music to, well, political protest, the story of this curious, intrepid young explorer with an alarming willingness to consume unfamiliar foodstuffs has inspired generations to think differently about the world. We went in for a sneak peek.
We're at the V&A, we're in the Alice, Curiouser and Curiouser exhibition, so we're just opening. As a visitor, you'll get to go down the rabbit hole, you'll get to be immersed in a pool of tears, you'll get to experience all sorts of different films of Alice on a Victorian pier before you encounter a Cheshire cat who has a smile that grins and disappears. There's an extraordinary tea party that we've created, a slightly psychedelic tea party. And the finale of the show is a looking glass experience where you get to reflect and really sort of see through the looking glass. We've worked with a theatre design team to create this show, so with a theatre set designer, sound, light and video, really to bring these worlds to life. So as well as the extraordinary objects, the spaces make you feel like you're in a sense of Wonderland. And as well as the physical spaces that allow you to kind of take Alice's journey, to be Alice on the journey, that we have a VR experience, which is a fully immersive experience that allows you to shrink and grow and play croquet. I think what's so fascinating is that there was a real little girl called Alice, and she was Alice Liddell and she was growing up in Christchurch College, Oxford University, and that's where she encountered Lewis Carroll. And so this is a story about her, and there's so much of her personality, this young Victorian girl who at the time, you know, was denied a university education but infinitely curious. And I think what we do at the beginning is to sort of show you Alice, show you the world that she was surrounded in, and how curious she was as you start your journey through the rabbit hole and then moving from real to imaginary worlds. Well, I can't tell you how enormously happy I am today that we're really kind of being able to open our doors and to share this with people, because so much of it has been created in a difficult time, in lockdown, using our imaginations. So it's absolutely brilliant to be here today and be sharing it and allowing people to experience art, experience culture and do some collective kind of sharing of Wonderland.
That exhibition opens to the public on Saturday. Now, we've all had a bit of an existential crisis this year, but for our chief theatre critic, with no live theatre to critique, it's been uniquely discombobulating. Now, after months of not setting foot in a playhouse, Nick Curtis is coming out of stasis and heading to the West End, where soon enough he'll be shooting out star ratings left, right and centre to get to grips with what it takes to get a big show open again. Here, he welcomes us back into his happy place and shares some of the shows he's most excited to see, from Six to Les Mis, Afterlife and everybody's talking about Jamie.
This week, London's theatres began the cautious process of reopening 14 months after they were told to close their doors in March 2020. There's a huge amount of excitement and anticipation in the air and in the sector, but also a certain nervousness. Everybody's concerned about the new coronavirus variant and about the possibility of a second shutdown. Last year, in summer and winter, several theatres reopened for a few days when restrictions were relaxed, only to close again almost immediately afterwards when they tightened up again. These theatres on Shaftesbury Avenue are a case in point. The four in the group along here, two of them are owned by Cameron Mackintosh's company, Delphont Mackintosh, and two by Nika Burns's NIMAX Theatres. Just before Christmas, Burns reopened Six the Musical at the Lyric Theatre, and Cameron Mackintosh staged a concert version of Les Miserables with a star cast at the Sondheim Theatre, which had itself only just reopened in January 2020 after a long period of refurbishment. The two shows couldn't be more different. Les Mis is the sombre, solemn, serious adaptation of Victor Hugo's classic novel that has been running in one form or another in London for 36 years. Six is the peppy, poppy, upstart musical that began its life on the Edinburgh Fringe, the story of Henry VIII's six wives. They appeal to different audiences. Les Mis is very popular with tourists and families. Six with a younger crowd. It's six queens of social media stars. These two shows, along with Everybody's Talking About Jamie, another show produced by Burns in a theatre she owns, the Apollo, are now going to reopen with social distancing. But that is financially unreasonable in the long term. Although we hope that audiences will recover, we simply do not know. There are very few international tourists around. Older theatregoers may be more nervous at coming out, and younger audience members were hit particularly hard financially by the pandemic. It also takes time to get big, long-running shows like The Book of Mormon, Lion King, Hamilton, Mamma Mia back on their feet. The West End is like a plate-spinning act. While the plates are all in motion, you can just about keep them going. Once they stop, though, you have to start them up again one by one. One of the more interesting experiments in post-pandemic programming is being done by Sonia Friedman here at the Harold Pinter Theatre. She's programmed 3 plays by not terribly well-known writers on intriguing subjects with equally intriguing casts, including the likes of Gemma Arterton, Fahinthy Balogun and Emma Corrin, the breakout star of the last season of The Crown. But for a lot of people, it's all about this, the Phantom of the Opera at Her Majesty's Theatre, which finally reopens in July. There's been quite a lot of controversy about the fact that the orchestra has been drastically reduced in size for the reopening production. But for many, Phantom is simply emblematic of theatre in the West End and on Broadway. I haven't seen the show since 2002, and I'm fascinated to see how it holds up.
Now, I know we've only just started, but I think this is going to be my favourite bit of the show. With big fancy exhibitions opening all the time at London's museums and galleries, it's sometimes easy to forget that there are millions of beautiful, intricate, curious and sometimes downright bizarre things in our national collections that you can go and see for free anytime you like. We wanted to give these objects, from paintings to pistols, dresses to daggers, chairs to chamber pots, their own moment in the sun. So hold on to your jaunty 18th century Cliocott basket hat. It's Thing of the Week.
These two beautiful jewel-like objects I'm standing in front of come from the British Museum's medieval collection. And they show how Thomas Becket quickly became one of Europe's most well-known and well-loved saints. Now, these two caskets are now empty, but they were originally made to hold relics of Becket. We don't know what they were, but they could have been a piece of his bone or perhaps a blood-splattered textile. They were made in Limoges in central France, which was the centre for beautiful enamel work in the Middle Ages, and they're both about 800 years old. On the front of them, you can see on the lower panels, Thomas Becket being murdered in Canterbury Cathedral by the knights. On the lid of the one on the left, you can see Becket being laid to rest in the crypt of Canterbury Cathedral, which took place the day after his murder. On the lid of the case on the right, Becket's soul ascends to heaven, carried aloft by angels.
It bagged Chloe Zhao the Best Director Oscar, making her the first woman of colour and only the second woman ever to win that award. Now, Nomadland has finally hit the big screen.
My mom said that you're homeless. Is that true?
No, I'm not homeless. I'm just houseless. Don't worry about me, I'm okay.
It's hard to know whether in a normal year full of tentpole dramas, this meandering, contemplative movie would have got a look in during the carnage of awards season, but it's a great thing that it did. The film is based on a non-fiction book of the same name by Jessica Bruder, and it tells the honestly not very eventful story of Fern, a 60-something widow whose community has been destroyed by the closure of a local factory, and who decides to pack up and try a new kind of life on the road. Along the way, she meets a new community of modern-day nomads, many of whom are played by real nomads in the film.
It was just because you were braver.
This is one of the most remarkable things about the movie. Frances McDormand rightly won the Best Actress Oscar for her portrayal of Fern, who might be the most convincingly real human woman I've ever seen in a movie. But it's the seamlessness with which Chloe Zhao weaves together her story and the stories of the nomads, the actual real people who live this life, and so generously share it with us on screen, that is so special. It's often hard to tell whether you're watching a fiction or a documentary. Nobody seems to be acting. The subtitle of Bruder's book is Surviving America in the 21st Century, and you get a real sense of the way that mainstream American society is just not built for those who fall undramatically, but fall nonetheless through its cracks. But you get a sense too of the heartening resilience and resourcefulness of so many people who, in the face of bad luck or a dearth of opportunity, nevertheless manage to carve out a way of life for themselves and care for each other at the same time. This is a film that needs to be seen on the big screen. With apologies to all filmmakers ever, it's transfixing on a laptop on the sofa, but 10 feet high and 30 feet wide, the incredible landscapes of America across which the nomads travel to find work and companionship are just astonishing. This is a stunning portrait of an America we don't see. Book a ticket at your local cinema right now. Thanks so much for watching our first edition of Cultural Capital. If you've enjoyed it, please give us a like, tell us in the comments, and hit subscribe so you don't ever miss it. We'll be back next week with a visit to the Royal Academy's new David Hockney exhibition, and we'll be talking to the director Dawn Walton about why she's reviving Alfred Fagan's play Death of a Black Man at the Hampstead Theatre. Have a great weekend.